let's first look at ITSM itself and look at the UI and UX changes that we did. So there we go, a little bit the view that you saw earlier on in the slides. So let's do some basic navigation through the product. So looking at April Alcott, double click to get the detail form, and you can see it will open up a tab. Look at related products, we'll open another tab, look at related support calls, and this. So every new form that I open will just add a tab in here. So that's the tabbed document interface, TDI in short. You still have the option to go back to the previous way of working. So you can change the application style, and you can say, okay, I like to have them floating, and then you have the windows on top of each other. But you can already see that that's, not as nice, not as clean as the one that. So probably we expect you to use the tabbed and the MDI when you have this release available. Then also the folder items are changed. So it's easier to change the size of these, but you can also fold them away, so you have more space available for your detail form in the middle, for example. Especially when you work with the larger forms like the instant detail or the plan board, you have the full, and you can even, well, my GoToMeeting is in the way, but you can even fold these down as well. Then you have the full screen size almost available for the detail form. You still can click on the folder items to select the context or the find items or the related items, and then of course fold them back. So that's the tabbed interface. Then look at the themes. So let's change it to black. You will see that the coloring is changing, the color of the forms is changing. Also the font type changes, even the width between the icons is changing. So this really depends on the theme that you select. I can select the blue one. Office blue. So you have multiple options there, and by default we just ship these default themes, but there's also a module option that you can use, and I just share this with you because you're a partner and maybe you like to use this when you do product demo, or maybe you like to share this with the customer, with the administrator, so maybe he can use it. We don't believe it's really of business value, but there are some, other themes available as well, really related to, some days of the year. And it's just a little bit to show what is possible and how a theme can affect the interface. So it's also even possible to include new themes if we want to. So let's change this to, and they have the ones. So let's say Halloween, and you can see it immediately changes to this particular topic. And especially if I open up the personal calendar, you can see that it really affects the controls. There you go. I don't know if you can see these little icons here. This one. Take this plan board. Christmas. Maybe once or twice a year you would like to make this available for the users, but it gives you a little bit of an idea. For the rest of the demo, I will just change back to a normal theme. I like this one personally. Okay, let's look at the changes that we did for the service catalog, and let's start with the service definitions and the configuration of those. I will just select mobile, and I'd like to take you to the offerings. There are two new features added. You can see the priority here, and you can set the priority from this side. And you can see the add support call event. This was something that maybe when you work with the first edition of our service catalog, the requested items were really stored in an event and they were not listed. That's what we did in the second release for Service Catalog. We really showed the listed products in a separate tab. So what you can do now is decide to not include a support call event for these items. So you can decide if you still want to include them or not. And here we can see that we have related answer book pages. So you can either from the service definition select the related answer book page, or of course when you manage your answer book pages you can also assign them to certain service definitions, and this will mean that they will be available from the customer facing view. So let's have a look at the portal. Let's log in as April and browse the service catalog. Let's start with just requesting something new. So I go to voice mobile and let's just request a new mobile phone. Okay, I will just leave it as is, so just the default. I only need to provide the details of the provider, the type of subscription, and submit. Because first of all, I like to show you the financial overview for approval. You can see the state of this request for change is now approval. That means there's a business approval. And by the way, I didn't mention that in my slide, but to show this form to the end user will be an option. So, and by default, we don't like to show this. So this is something that we will change for the release as well. So from here, you just when you submit, you don't see this form because we believe it's too much information for the user. And then most of the times it's just annoying because the user needs to press OK again. And we'd rather have them go directly back to the service catalog or maybe to somewhere else in the system. So I will leave the portal and log in as Sally. Sally is manager of April and she's doing the approvals for her. So look at the approvals. Just search. Should be one. Yeah, there it is. Select it. And now you can see that besides the approval details, we have the request details in here, where you can nicely see the pricing information, the quantity, everything is in there. So in one form you have a complete overview of what is requested. You don't have to go into the call details anymore and then zoom into the events, which is multiple steps. You just have the details here, which of course makes it easier to do your approval. Okay, that's one. Back to April. And let's do a request for something additional. So assuming I already have a mobile service, and I know she has because here you can see the additional services. The additional services will not show when April would not have this mobile service. And I will drill a little bit more down, and then you can also see that here we have that related answer book page. So you have the answer book pages available here as well. So let's assume I like to have an additional battery requested from here. You can see automatically the service is populated, and then just provide some details. Can I have and then submit. Okay. Okay, and what did I do? I go back to ITSM, look into support calls and queues. Here we have request for additional battery. And of course we could already do this, but then from the service. But the reason why I'm showing you this is that now we have a service agreement attached, because we have set priority, and based on the agreements that we have available for April Alcott, it selected the service level. So now we also have a due date calculation for the request itself, which we didn't have there before. Okay. Good. Going back to the service catalog, and now I'd like to show you the multi-quantity. Maybe you already seen it when I was going over the request. So let's assume April likes to request additional workspace. And she needs 2. And let's assume that she just needs 2 laptops. So maybe she's also ordering for a colleague. Okay. So what this will do, if I go back to my queue, you can see it generates 3 requests. One request is the parent request. That's the one that I'm opening now. And if you look at the requested items, you can see the number of items. On the parent request, if there is approval involved, that all will be done on the parent, so on the highest level. And then underneath, it generates a child call for each requested item. So in this time, I had requested 2 laptops. So I have 2 service requests that I can, treat individually, because maybe I receive one first, I will process one, and then I will do the other. And here you can see the requested items that I have. So that's just one. So you have one parent, and attached to it you have 2 child calls for the multi-quantity requests. Okay. Good. Then going to the final piece of the demo, and that is the revised RMAs. Let's take April again. And let's assume that April has a defect mobile phone. We have seen she has this service, so I will select the service, defect mobile. I will select the affected product as well. She has BlackBerry. And that's all I need. And now let's assume that indeed I like to swap these. I have maybe a spare or loaner mobile phone, or maybe I will just purchase a new mobile phone for her, or I have a mobile phone on stock. So what I can do from the incident is go to RMAs, create new RMA, and you can see that this is really heavily changed, especially the people that have worked with RMAs before. This is a complete new form where you can see we can do assignment now. So like we do with support calls, we can work with queues and with users. We have a status, we have a type, and then we also have products. And you can see that most of the fields here are really copied from the incident. So the queue and the assign to are copied from the incident, and also the product is copied from the incident as well. And even if you have multiple products selected, so remember when you have a request for change and you have multiple config items in your change, then these will also be products. So you can treat multiple products as one. You can swap multiple products in one RMA if you want to. And then if I drill down into the details, then you can see what we do here. So we store all the details of the affected product, again copied from the information that we already have, and then we can here provide the details of the return product. So where does it need to go? And this is still open, it's not finalized yet, so I can not show you the whole process. But here typically, if the service engineer was attached to a certain warehouse, it will just automatically populate the warehouse of the service engineer here, and then you will be able to just select a product from stock that is available in that warehouse, and then here you would have a button that would say swap, and when you do that it will update both products, so it will move the affected BlackBerry into the warehouse of the engineer, and it will replace it with the product that you have selected and put that and assign that to a ProAlcot and link that to the available services. So that's the revised RMAs. And really that completes, I think, a whole process that makes it easier for you to keep your configuration management database up to date. And of course you can, take it from a warehouse. If not, you can also from here generate the purchase order, process the purchase order, and use that product. So even the relationship to the orders is kept here as well.